No one is coming to save you. No one is staying up at night thinking about how to solve your problems, how to heal your pain, or how to make your dreams reality. That's the bitter truth most people run from, but the sooner you face it, the sooner you'll become unstoppable. You sit there waiting for a friend, a partner, or some invisible hand to lift you, but all you'll get is disappointment. People smile in your face, clap for your small wins, but when it gets dark, when it gets heavy, when your back hits the wall, you are alone. And that's not a tragedy. That's your greatest weapon, because when you realize you have only yourself, you stop begging for validation, you stop expecting loyalty from those who can't even control their own lives, and you start building the kind of discipline and power no one can take from you. Depending on others is the fastest road to weakness. Depending on yourself is the foundation of freedom. You don't need friends who flake, or family who doubts, or society that laughs. You need your own strength, your own courage, your own relentless drive. No one is your friend, and that's the reason you can finally win. Reliance is the only true form of strength, because in the end, no matter how many people surround you, no matter how many friends you think you have, no matter how loud the world pretends to cheer for you, you are the one who has to carry yourself through the fire. Nobody else can walk in your shoes. Nobody else can bleed your blood or fight your demons. People may say they care. They may offer words, but words don't carry weight when life hits you in the chest and you can't breathe. At that moment, you realize the brutal truth. You are all you have. That realization either destroys you or transforms you, and those who embrace it rise above everything. The weak depend on others. They expect friends to always be there. They expect family to always support them. They expect the world to be fair. But life doesn't work like that. Life will betray you. People you trusted will vanish. People you loved will turn cold. Promises will be broken. Words will fade. And shoulders you leaned on will disappear. If your strength is built on others, you will collapse with them. If your identity is dependent on their approval, you will crumble when they disapprove. That's why self-reliance is not just important, it is survival. When you become self-reliant, you remove chains you never realized were strangling you. You stop begging for recognition. You stop waiting for someone to validate your dreams. You stop needing someone to clap for you because your fire burns without applause. You don't wait for motivation from a friend. You are your own motivator. You don't expect help from family. You build your own way. You don't rely on luck or handouts. You create your own opportunities. This independence makes you untouchable because you no longer suffer when people walk away. You expected nothing from them in the first place. Think about it. The strongest people in history, the ones who left a mark, were those who stood alone when everyone doubted them. They faced rejection, mockery, isolation, but they had the willpower to continue without needing anyone to hold their hand. That's real strength. Not muscles, not bravado, but the discipline to rely on yourself when you're tired, when you're broken, when the world is against you. That inner fire cannot be stolen because it doesn't come from anyone else. It's built inside you, forged by your choices, your struggles, and your refusal to quit. Most people fear loneliness, but solitude is the birthplace of strength. When you are alone, you are forced to confront yourself. There's no distraction, no safety net, no one to blame. You face your fears, your weaknesses, your insecurities. And when you conquer them, when you build discipline in silence, when you grind while nobody is watching, you emerge with a strength no fake friend can give you. Alone, you learn who you truly are. Alone, you discover your limits, and then you smash them. The world teaches dependence. It tells you to seek approval, to need constant reassurance, to cry for help at every difficulty. That mindset creates weakness. Weakness creates victims. Victims never control their destiny. They are puppets moved by others. But when you embrace self-reliance, you take back your life. You are no longer a pawn on someone else's board. You become the player, the strategist, the king and soldier all in one. You may fall, but you will rise by your own hands. You may bleed, but you will heal by your own will. That strength no one can take away. Understand this. Being self-reliant doesn't mean you hate people. It doesn't mean you reject help when it comes. It means you don't need it. You are grateful for support, but not dependent on it. You can fight alone, win alone, and survive alone if necessary. That's what makes relationships stronger. When you don't cling to others out of weakness, but stand beside them out of strength. When you don't rely on them for survival, but choose them because you already stand tall on your own. There will come moments in your life when everything you leaned on collapses. Friends will betray you, family will disappoint you, opportunities will vanish, and dreams will seem dead. In those moments, many break. They cry for help that never comes. But the self-reliant, they adjust, they adapt, they build again from nothing. They have an unshakable core that doesn't crumble with circumstances. That core is not built in comfort. It's built in fire, forged through discipline, sacrifice, and relentless self-trust. So stop expecting people to save you. Stop thinking someone else owes you happiness, success, or stability. Stop believing the lie that you are weak without others. You are not weak. You are untrained. You are not helpless. You are unused to relying on yourself. Train your mind, discipline your habits, build your resilience. Become so self-reliant that when people walk away, when the world turns against you, when you are stripped of everything, you can still stand, still fight, still win. Self-reliance is not just strength. It is freedom. It frees you from betrayal, from disappointment, from false hope. It makes you unshakable, untouchable, unstoppable. You become a fortress, not because walls protect you, but because you are the wall. Remember this. No one is your friend when life tests you. No one is your savior when the storm hits. The only person who can carry you through hell is the one you see in the mirror every morning. Trust that person, build that person, rely on that person, because in this world, self-reliance is the only true form of strength. Stop seeking validation. Create your own worth. Because the moment you allow your value to be measured by the opinions of others, you hand over control of your life. Too many people live as prisoners of approval. They wake up thinking about what others will say. They dress for acceptance. They speak to impress. They work not for their own goals, but to satisfy an invisible audience. And what do they get in return? A temporary nod, a fleeting compliment, a shallow cheer that fades the moment they make a mistake. Living for validation is slavery disguised as comfort, and the price you pay is your identity. The truth is, people are fickle. Today they love you, tomorrow they hate you, and the next day they've forgotten you. If your worth is built on their applause, then you'll rise and fall with every wave of opinion. That is a weak foundation for a life meant to be strong. Real power comes when you stop chasing approval and begin creating value from within. When you create your own worth, you don't care if someone notices or not, because your pride is not dependent on their recognition. You know your grind, your sweat, your effort. You know the hours you've sacrificed, the battles you've fought in silence. Nobody else has to clap for you because you already know the price you've paid. You stop living like an actor on a stage and start living like an architect building his empire. The audience doesn't matter when you're the one designing the blueprint, laying the bricks, and constructing something permanent. That sense of worth can't be stolen because it's not given to you, it's earned by you. Validation seekers waste their energy trying to be liked, trying to fit in, trying to bend themselves into shapes that please others. But no matter how much you twist yourself, there will always be someone who disapproves, someone who mocks, someone who finds fault. You cannot win the game of people-pleasing because it's rigged. The rules change daily, the audience is never satisfied, and the prize is emptiness. But when you stop playing that game and focus on your own standards, you free yourself from the endless chase. You start asking, did I push myself today? Did I honor my own goals? Did I move closer to the vision I set for my life? Those questions carry more power than 1,000 likes on a screen. Creating your own worth demands courage because it means walking away from the safety of approval and stepping into the responsibility of self-definition. It means setting your own standards so high that the world can't ignore them. It means refusing to compromise your identity just to fit into someone else's box. And yes, people will call you arrogant, selfish, or stubborn, but that's only because they are uncomfortable with someone who doesn't bow to the crowd. Strength always looks like arrogance to the weak. Independence always looks like selfishness to the dependent. Let them talk. Let them criticize. Their voices don't define you, and their labels don't stick to someone who refuses to be caged. And the greatest trap of seeking validation is that it makes you forget who you are. You begin to silence your own instincts, ignore your own desires, and betray your own values just to maintain acceptance. Over time, you become a stranger to yourself, living a life designed by others. That's not living. It's existing as a puppet. The strings are their opinions, the stage is their expectation, and you dance, not because you want to, but because you fear disapproval. Break those strings. Cut them without hesitation. Every moment you waste chasing approval is a moment stolen from the life you could have built for yourself. Your worth is not in the number of followers, not in the recognition of colleagues, not in the praise of friends. Your worth is in your discipline, your vision, your ability to keep going when no one notices. It's in the fact that you get up every day and fight for a dream others can't even see. It's in your scars, your resilience, your relentless willpower. That's what makes you valuable, not the approval of people who don't even know themselves. And here's the irony. When you stop seeking validation and start creating worth, people begin to respect you more. They sense your independence. They see your strength. They admire your refusal to bend. People are drawn to those who don't need them because that kind of self-reliance is rare. But whether they admire you or not no longer matters, because you've built your foundation so solid that outside opinions become background noise. Ask yourself this: if every person abandoned you, if every cheer turned into silence, if every eye looked away, would you still see value in yourself? If your answer is no, then you're living on borrowed worth. But if your answer is yes, then you are free. That's the level you must reach. A level where silence feels like fuel, where loneliness feels like strength, where your reflection is enough validation for the empire you're building. Stop chasing validation. It will never fill you. Build your own worth. Earn it through discipline, create it through action, protect it through self-respect. When you own your worth, no betrayal can reduce it. No criticism can erase it. No rejection can damage it. You become untouchable. You become unstoppable. And most importantly, you finally become yourself. Not the version others approve of, but the one you were born to be. Eliminate it, because expectation comes from expectation. Eliminate it, because expectation is the silent poison that kills peace, ambition, and self-worth. Every time you expect people to behave a certain way, every time you expect life to be fair, every time you expect support, loyalty, or consistency, you set yourself up for heartbreak. Expectation is a trap because it ties your happiness to something outside your control. The moment reality doesn't match your fantasy, you feel betrayed, angry, or lost. But the truth is, reality never betrayed you. Your expectations did. You assumed the world owed you something. You assumed people owed you loyalty. You assumed effort guaranteed reward. Those assumptions are illusions. The world doesn't owe you anything. People don't owe you consistency. And effort alone doesn't guarantee success. Once you accept that, disappointment loses its power. Most people live in constant frustration because they build their lives on imagined promises. They expect friends to always be there, forgetting that friends have their own struggles. They expect family to understand them, forgetting that most families can't even understand themselves. They expect society to recognize their efforts, forgetting that the world rarely rewards quietly. And when reality doesn't align with those expectations, they spiral. They cry, they blame, they resent, but in truth, they are the architects of their own suffering, because expectation is self-inflicted. The higher your expectations of others, the more fragile you become. Eliminating expectation is not about being cold or pessimistic. It's about being free. When you stop expecting, you stop being controlled by outcomes you cannot dictate. You can still hope, you can still trust, you can still work, but you detach your peace from the result. You learn to enjoy the process instead of obsessing over the reward. You learn to value effort instead of demanding recognition. You learn to accept people as they are, not as you wish them to be. And that acceptance is power, because disappointment has no place to live in a mind that doesn't cling to expectation. Think about how much energy people waste being angry at others for not meeting expectations. They expect loyalty, but people betray. They expect honesty, but people lie. They expect respect, but people project their own insecurities. The reality is simple. People act based on who they are, not who you expect them to be. And if you tie your emotions to those expectations, you hand over your peace to people who don't even value themselves. When you eliminate expectations, you take back control. Nobody can disappoint you because you expect nothing. Nobody can betray you because you didn't assume loyalty. Nobody can break your heart because you didn't demand perfection. You remain untouchable because your peace is not in their hands. The same applies to life. People expect the road to success to be straight, expect effort to equal instant results, expect discipline to be rewarded quickly. Then when setbacks come, they collapse. But success never works on your timeline. Life doesn't bend for your comfort. If you expect it to, you'll quit the moment it resists. That's why so many dreams die, not because people lacked talent, but because they expected it to be easier. The few who eliminate expectation, who embrace struggle without demanding smoothness, are the ones who make it. They don't say, I deserve this. They say, I'll earn it, no matter how long it takes. They don't cry when things don't go their way because they never expected life to be fair in the first place. Expectation is the cousin of entitlement, and entitlement is weakness. When you believe you are owed anything, you become dependent on the giver. When you remove expectation, you replace entitlement with gratitude. Suddenly, every small win feels like a blessing. Every act of kindness feels like a gift. Every opportunity feels like a treasure. Gratitude makes you strong because it keeps you grounded in reality instead of lost in fantasy. A grateful person is never disappointed because they expect nothing but appreciate everything. That mindset creates resilience, and resilience creates unstoppable momentum. Understand this: eliminating expectation doesn't mean lowering standards. You can still demand excellence from yourself. You can still set goals, still build visions, still chase greatness, but you don't sit around waiting for the world to applaud. You don't demand life to cooperate. You move forward regardless of resistance, and you adjust without crying when things go wrong. Your standards are for yourself. Your expectations of others are none. That separation keeps you disciplined yet free. Relationships transform when you apply this principle. Most fights, most heartbreaks, most betrayals cut deep only because of expectation. You expected them to act like you. You expected them to give what you gave. You expected them to carry your weight. But people are not you. They cannot mirror your loyalty, your effort, your love. When you accept this, you stop forcing unrealistic roles onto others. You let them be who they are, and you choose whether or not to keep them in your circle. No disappointment, just clarity. No bitterness, just boundaries. Life itself becomes lighter when you cut the strings of expectation. You stop being shocked by betrayal because you never expected loyalty. You stop being crushed by rejection because you never expected approval. You stop being paralyzed by failure because you never expected ease. Instead, you are free to keep moving, keep building, keep fighting without carrying the dead weight of constant disappointment. So eliminate expectation and you eliminate suffering. Replace it with discipline, gratitude, and acceptance. Work without assuming reward. Love without assuming return. Help without assuming thanks. Build without assuming applause. Then, when results come, you'll celebrate without entitlement. And when they don't, you'll keep moving without pain. That is true strength, the ability to remain unshaken because you expect nothing and create everything. Disappointment is born from expectation. Freedom is born from its elimination. Solitude builds resilience and clarity because when you are alone, you strip away the noise of the world, the constant chatter of opinions, the endless pull of distractions, and you are left with the raw truth of yourself. Most people fear solitude because they are terrified of facing themselves without escape. They cling to noise, to crowds, to company, because silence exposes the battles they have been avoiding. But the reality is, solitude is where strength is born. It is where resilience is carved into your character and clarity sharpens your vision. Being alone is not loneliness. It is training. It is the battlefield where you conquer your doubts, discipline your mind, and discover your real purpose without outside influence. When you embrace solitude, you stop being dependent on the presence of others for stability. You learn to be your own anchor. You become self-sufficient in spirit, and that independence builds resilience. Life will throw storms at you. Friends will leave. Partners will betray. The world will turn cold. If you have never learned to stand alone, those storms will destroy you. But if you have trained in solitude, you carry a power that no abandonment can break. You've already been alone before, and you've already survived. That memory makes you unshakable. Resilience is not built in comfort or applause. It is built in the silence of struggle. When you are alone, grinding with no one watching, no one clapping, no one validating, you develop an inner toughness that can't be faked. Every time you keep going without external motivation, every time you rise when nobody cares, you add another layer of armor to your character. You become someone who doesn't need cheerleaders, who doesn't need handouts, who doesn't need pity. You learn to generate your own fuel. And when you walk back into the world, people can feel it. They sense your independence. They see a strength that doesn't crumble under pressure because it wasn't built on others. It was built in solitude. Clarity also comes only when you are alone. When you are surrounded by people, your thoughts are clouded by their voices, their opinions, their expectations. You begin to live for their approval, think with their perspectives, and chase their definitions of success. But solitude cuts that noise. In silence, you begin to hear your own voice clearly. You ask yourself hard questions. Who am I really? What do I want? What am I willing to sacrifice? These questions cannot be answered in the middle of constant noise. They require stillness, honesty, and courage, the kind you find only when you are alone. Solitude clears the fog of distraction and forces you to see the truth, even if it hurts. Many fear solitude because they confuse it with weakness. They think being alone means being unloved, unwanted, or rejected. But solitude is not rejection, it is selection. It is you choosing to step away from the crowd, choosing to cut ties with dependency, choosing to sharpen yourself in silence. The greatest minds, the strongest leaders, the most disciplined warriors all had seasons of solitude. They disappeared from the world not to hide, but to build. They returned stronger, sharper, more focused, because they understood that solitude is not a punishment, but a privilege. It is the workshop where you design the version of yourself that can dominate in the public arena. Resilience built in solitude also teaches you emotional control. When you are alone, you can't rely on others to comfort you, to rescue you, or to distract you. You must learn to sit with pain, to endure boredom, to wrestle with fear. This process hardens your mind and teaches you patience. You discover that emotions are not permanent, that pain passes, and that your mind is stronger than you imagine. Once you master yourself in solitude, nothing external can control you again. No insult, no betrayal, no setback can shake you because you've already conquered worse in silence. Clarity born in solitude also gives you direction. When you see yourself clearly, you stop chasing illusions. You stop wasting energy trying to please people who don't matter. You stop running after goals that don't align with your purpose. You focus only on what is real, what is meaningful, what is worth your time. That kind of clarity is dangerous because most people live their whole lives without it. They are lost in noise, pulled in every direction, slaves to approval. But the one who embraces solitude walks a straight path, undistracted, undiluted, and unshakable. Solitude is not easy, but it is necessary. It will test you, it will break you, it will expose every weakness you tried to hide, but that is the point. You cannot become resilient without being tested. You cannot find clarity without being stripped of illusions. The pain of solitude is the price you pay for the strength of independence and the vision of clarity. Most people run from that pain, and that is why they remain weak, confused, and dependent their whole life. The few who embrace it rise above, because solitude gave them what the crowd never could: self-mastery. So don't fear being alone, use it. Make solitude your training ground, your sanctuary, your forge. In solitude, you will break, but in that breaking, you will rebuild stronger. In solitude, you will be lost, but in that silence, you will find your path. In solitude, you will face yourself, and when you conquer that reflection, no outside force can defeat you. Remember this: resilience is not given, it is built. Clarity is not handed to you, it is discovered. And both are found, not in the crowd, but in the silence of solitude. Your destiny is your responsibility, no one else's, because no one is going to live your life for you. No one is going to feel your hunger for success, and no one is going to carry the weight of your dreams. Too many people sit around waiting for someone to save them, waiting for a miracle, waiting for a handout, waiting for the perfect opportunity, and they waste their lives in that waiting. The truth is brutal but freeing. No one is coming. If you want to change your life, it has to start with you. If you want greatness, you must create it. If you want freedom, you must fight for it. Destiny is not a gift, it is a responsibility. And the moment you hand that responsibility to anyone else, you surrender your power. People love to blame circumstances. They blame their parents, their upbringing, their city, their past, their environment. They say, if only I had better support, if only I had more connections, if only life was fairer, I'd be successful. That mindset is poison. Blame gives away your control. The more you blame, the more powerless you become, because you convince yourself that your future lies in the hands of things outside your reach. But the truth is, people have risen from worse conditions than you and still built empires. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't cry about fairness. They accepted responsibility for their destiny and acted. That is the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck. Responsibility is heavy, but it is also liberating. When you realize that your life is fully yours, you stop wasting energy complaining. You stop waiting for help that never comes. You stop expecting someone else to do the work for you. Instead, you accept that the outcomes you want will be earned only through your own hands, your own discipline, your own sacrifice. That mindset shifts everything. Suddenly, every action you take matters. Every hour wasted is a piece of your destiny slipping away. Every decision becomes a building block for the future you are constructing. You stop being a victim of chance and start being an architect of choice. Your destiny is not written in the stars. It's written in your habits, your mindset, and your persistence. If you wake up late every day, if you procrastinate, if you waste time on distractions, you are writing the script of failure. If you rise early, discipline yourself, focus on growth, and keep moving forward no matter how hard it gets, you are writing the script of success. Destiny is not magic. It is cause and effect. The cause is your actions. The effect is your life. Take responsibility for your actions, and you take control of your destiny. When you refuse responsibility, you invite regret. Years from now, you will look back and realize no one else was to blame for your failures but you. Not your parents, not your friends, not your enemies, you. Because at every point you had a choice to work harder or to quit, a choice to stay disciplined or to slack off, a choice to build or to waste. Your destiny is shaped by those choices, and no excuse will erase the truth that you are responsible for them. That's why people who run from responsibility always drown in regret. They spend their lives waiting, blaming, and hoping, and when the clock runs out, they realize the opportunity was theirs all along. Taking responsibility also means accepting the pain that comes with it. There will be sacrifices, phases, disappointments, and setbacks, but those struggles are not punishments, they are training. They sharpen you, harden you, prepare you for the weight of the destiny you are chasing. Weak people run from struggle, hoping someone else will make it easier for them. Strong people embrace it, knowing that every obstacle conquered is proof they are on the right path. Responsibility means no shortcuts, no excuses, no waiting. It means standing up every time you fall because no one else can stand for you. The beauty of responsibility is that it also gives you power. Once you own your destiny, you stop caring about fairness. You stop worrying about who supports you and who doesn't. You stop being paralyzed by fear of failure. You realize everything is in your control, and that realization is freedom. If your destiny is yours, then your future is limitless. You can go as far as you are willing to push. No one can stop you unless you allow them to. No one can define you unless you accept their definition. No one can chain you unless you hand them the key. The world is full of people who will try to tell you what you can and cannot do. They will project their fears onto you, try to hold you back, try to convince you that you are not capable, but their words mean nothing if you take responsibility. They don't control your actions. You do. They don't decide your path. You do. They don't live your life. You do. The moment you stop letting outside voices steer your direction and fully accept responsibility for steering it yourself, you become unstoppable. So stop waiting, stop blaming, stop hoping for someone to rescue you. No one is responsible for your destiny but you. Own it, build it, protect it, take every decision, every habit, every choice seriously because they are writing the story of your future. You may not control the starting point, you may not control every obstacle, but you control how you respond, how you fight, how you persist. And that response determines everything. Your destiny is your responsibility. Embrace it fully, and you will create a life no one can take from you. And now listen closely, because this is where everything comes together. You've been told lies your whole life. That people will save you, that friends will always stand by you, that the world will be fair, that happiness will be handed to you. But the truth is raw, and it's the only thing that will set you free. No one is your friend when life gets real. No one is responsible for your destiny but you. And the only strength that lasts is the one you build in silence. Stop begging for validation. Stop crying for loyalty. Stop expecting people to carry a weight they were never meant to hold. Stand up and carry it yourself. Solitude is not your enemy, it is your forge. Disappointment is not your curse, it is your teacher. Responsibility is not your burden, it is your freedom. When you embrace all of this, you become unshakable. You stop chasing, you start creating. You stop waiting, you start moving. You stop depending, you start conquering. And when the world looks at you, they'll see someone who doesn't break, doesn't bend, and doesn't beg. Because you finally understood that everything you need was within you all along. Your life, your destiny, your power, it's yours. Take it.